Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Phone Eats First, a podcast about romanticizing your life inside and outside of the kitchen. Hi, my name is Corey. I'm so happy you're here. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Cyber Weekend, even though we're not really celebrating Cyber Weekend because everyone needs to unplug and hang out with your family, but you guys know what time of the year it is. And that kind of ties into this week's episode. I'm going to be talking about kind of all of my favorite kitchen items and essentials, staples, things that I think you should need or eventually work up to getting, and things that I just really enjoy having in my kitchen. But before we get into that, let's get into the weekly report. You are listening to Phone Eats First. So, reading. I am currently reading The Great Alone, but you guys already know that. So I'm going to share about a book that I have read that I absolutely love, and it is The Firm by John Grisham. And the reason I bring this one back up is because my mom bought the sequel to that, which kind of blew my mind. I didn't know that he was writing another book about it. So The Firm is kind of the first book I read within the last 5 years that got me back into reading. It's a true thriller. It's so good. Definitely recommend. Okay, eating, obviously, turkey, Thanksgiving food, pumpkin pie, all the things. I'm actually recording this right now, right before we eat our Thanksgiving dinner, so I'm super excited to eat all of the good food. But we actually had a Friendsgiving this week, so I kind of got a glimpse into, or not even a glimpse, it was a whole on Thanksgiving meal. And we had stuffing, multiple potatoes, multiple casseroles, multiple pies. Everything was just so good. So I'm excited to eat some more Thanksgiving food. Plan. Tomorrow morning, unfortunately, I fly out to San Diego for work, and which I talked about in my last episode, just lots of travel ahead, but that is kind of just what's going on in my life and all I can really think about. But I am going to New York in December, which will be full on Christmas mode, so I'm super excited. And if you guys have any must-have New York recs, definitely send them my way. All right. Obsessed with? I'm going to go with my Stanley Cup. Which is really, no, I take that back. I'm going to go with my Hydro Flask because I just got a new yellowy lemon lime color Hydro Flask, and she's stunning. And I just love water bottles, and I drink a lot of water, and I like to carry them. I mean, I not even like to carry it around. It's a necessity that I carry it around everywhere. So I'm really digging my Hydro Flask at the moment. I do also have a Stanley Cup that I really enjoy. What's next? Recipe. We're going to go with the coffee that I had this morning. It was just a latte, but it was Fairlife milk with cinnamon, and I frothed it in our little frother, and then espresso, obviously, and it was just so good. And I did a little whipped cream and chocolate syrup on top just to feel fancy, and it was so good and just warm and fall. And it was a little Thanksgiving fall mug, so it really just hit the spot, which that's such a simple recipe, but I mean, hey, we like to keep it simple over here. All right, tea, treat. Let's see. I feel like I have to be basic here and say pumpkin pie. I don't like pumpkin in really literally anything else, but I love pumpkin desserts like pumpkin pie, pumpkin bread, stuff like that. But what are they called? Pumpkin spice latte. That is not my jam. So I don't know, but pumpkin pie I love, and I really hope you guys do too. Also, pecan pie fan. I mean, like pie. I just love sweets. So yeah, I'm excited about the current holiday season and all the sweets that it brings. Sip of champagne, switching it up from my tea. Okay, so that's the weekly report. I don't really have much to add. I'm just currently at the beach with my family. We're celebrating on Wednesday, and my brother and his family are on their way here now, actually. And so we're going to have a nice little dinner and evening, and I'm really excited. And then we'll do the same thing for Christmas. My parents live at the beach now, which is incredible. So definitely fun to be here with everyone and kids and dogs and just the whole thing. But let's get into kind of my favorite kitchen items. So I have these broken out. I mean, this definitely is on a whim, and the reason I'm doing this episode now, it seems a little boring, or I don't know. It's not very inspirational, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But with Black Friday and Cyber Monday and just Christmas time coming around, I did think this was an appropriate time to kind of share some of my favorite appliances and tools, and just kind of what's in my kitchen 101, in case you are someone that is really looking to get into cooking, or just kind of wanting to up your cooking experience, your kitchen experience. So I just wrote a quick little list of things that I have and use all the time and things that I love and like would buy over and over again, or things that are like definitely not essential, but definitely make your life better or just kind of make cooking a little bit more romanticized, I guess you could say. So first up, we have my appliances. Starting off strong with my coffee pot. I got this for Christmas, I think 2 years ago, once I moved into a house after college, and it is a Ninja coffee pot, which there's nothing fancy. It's literally a coffee pot, but what I like about it is it has a timer. That was my one requirement when I asked for this, was that I can pre-make and pre-brew the coffee and set a time for when I want it to start in the morning. So literally every night before I go to bed, I make my coffee for the morning, like meaning I put the water in, I put the coffee in, and I set the timer for typically like 6 a.m. so that when I'm up at like 6:30ish, literally the coffee's ready for me. Like it's brewed, it is there, ready to drink. And it just makes my morning so happy because that's one less thing for me to do. Also, I mean, I can't really smell, but if you can smell, like I'm sure the smell of coffee would I can smell coffee, but not that well. So I'm sure some people would enjoy waking up to the smell of coffee, like from their room, down the hall, whatever it is. Okay. Appliance number 2, my Instapot, which this was given to me last Christmas by Bennett and Charlie. And I never would have asked for one nor like wanted one, but they were like, I promise you're going to use it. You're going to love it. Like you just have to learn how to use it. And so I do. I am a huge fan. And it is a fancy model. It's like the Duo Crisp something. So it's actually an Instapot and an air fryer, which that is the key. I wouldn't get an Instapot otherwise because I had an air fryer. So then if it's not the Instapot that's also an air fryer, then that's like 2 massive appliances that you have. But this one, it's like the same body and just has 2 different lids. One you can use to pressure cook, steam, saute, bake, like whatever. And then the other one is an air fryer lid and has an air fryer basket. So it's a 2-in-1, but it's technically an 11-in-1, which I cannot tell you what all 11 things are, but I really do like it. And the main thing I knew I was going to use it for is the air fryer, obviously, because I use air fryers to do like all of my roasted veggies and stuff, like sweet potatoes, sometimes Brussels sprouts, salmon. I don't do chicken in the air fryer, but I know a lot of people do. I actually use the other side, the Instapot side. I pressure cook my chicken because chicken kind of grosses me out like a lot of the time. And so with this, all you do is literally dump the raw chicken in, a little bit of water or chicken broth, seasoning, and then just pressure cook it for like 10 to 15 minutes, depending how much it is. And it's like fully cooked. It's juicy. It's so good. And there's just like so many other things you can do in there. Like I know it like literally serves as an oven, a stove. There's so many settings. It's really cool. So I definitely recommend one of those eventually. It's not an essential, but it's just an appliance that I have and love. And I know I will continue to like explore with. Okay. Number 3, which you guys already know this, but a blender. Duh. How else would I make my smoothies and my nice cream and soup? I use it every day, sometimes multiple times a day, especially if I'm doing nice cream in the evening. But it's just so everyone needs a blender. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. And then toaster. I mean, that one's easy. Literally nothing special about it. And you also don't need a toaster. You can use the oven to toast bread, but definitely for the sake of convenience, I can't imagine wanting a sandwich and then like wanting to toast the bread, but then having to wait at least like 15 minutes for your bread to be toasted. I love cooking when it takes time, but that's just not something I want to take time. So definitely recommend a toaster. They're really cheap too. You don't need a fancy one. Okay, that's all I have for appliances at the moment, but I'll get into some more later when I kind of tell you like my wish list down the line. But now let's get into essential dishes / tools, utensils, I guess. Utensils would definitely be the right word. So first, the pots, pans, baking sheet section. The only thing here that I have that's like fancy and specific is a cast iron skillet. Invest in one, get one. They're really not that expensive. I used to think they were like hundreds of dollars, but they're actually not. You can get them at TJ Maxx or Marshall's, some Home Goods, something like that. And if you properly take care of one, meaning you just keep it seasoned and oiled and all that, it actually is so great. But otherwise, I just kind of have some regular nonstick pans, nothing fancy. I do want to eventually get stainless steel pans and pots because I have stainless steel pots, but a stainless steel pan because I know if you have like a legit one and again, use it properly, they're technically supposed to be the best for cooking certain things. So kind of excited to explore that. I have a big pot for soup / chili, which when I say big pot, I mean huge. You can probably fit an entire like chicken in there if you wanted to, but you definitely need a big pot at some point. I mean, I didn't have one for a while and I wanted to make soup, But then whenever I kind of had like the inkling to make soup and just didn't have the big pot, I was like, oh, maybe next season. So finally I bought one at TJ Maxx, which again, they're not expensive. You just eventually need one. Definitely make sure you have somewhere to store it though, because they take up a lot of space, obviously. And then in addition to the pots, we've got just kind of your standard large size pot so that you can make pasta / rice. Like you need to be able to boil water, put the pasta in it, not overflow. So I have no idea how many like quarts or gallons or ounces or whatever that would be, but I feel like you guys know what I'm talking about. Like just just a normal size pot. And then you definitely need, SG and I have 3 baking sheets, which small, medium, and large, but even the small is like not that small. So those are just essential. So you can throw anything in the oven, cookies, vegetables, chicken, like literally anything. You just need baking sheets. Okay. Then cutting boards. You are going to get wooden cutting boards, not plastic. And I actually learned this like probably 2 weeks ago. So I'm still behind the times, but I need to throw away the one plastic cutting board we have and just keep all of our wooden ones and only buy more wooden ones. And the reason for this is because plastic cutting boards, they produce microplastics. I mean, obviously it's made of plastic, but when you're cutting with a knife, you see all the lines and you see kind of like little pieces of plastic come off. That is going into your food and into your body, which yes, everything we do, there's always something that's bad for us. But I feel like this is an easy one to avoid when you have wooden cutting boards, which one, they just like look nicer and feel nicer. And I prefer to use them. Like they're literally just more aesthetic, which not important, but it is now because plastic cutting boards aren't great for you. So you're going to have a few cutting boards. Again, you need more than one so that when you're prepping raw meat or raw fish and then also vegetables or whatever else it is, you can kind of do it all at once and then wash the dishes later. But again, just wooden cutting boards, a few different sizes probably, just to make your life a little bit easier. And then you're going to also need a strainer, colander, whatever you want to call it, because I know you probably eat a lot of pasta. If you're like me or if you're a human, if you can breathe, like who doesn't like pasta? You're going to need a strainer so that when you make the noodles, you can dump them in, strain the water, yada, yada. I also use it to like wash fruit and vegetables. And there are strainers. I had one in college that was collapsible. So it's a rubber material and so it flattens, which is great because then it saves a lot of space, which I don't have one of those now, but if I were to purchase one again, I'd probably get one of those down the line. Okay. You also need glass containers to store your food. If you have plastic and they're working for you, great. But when you want to start investing in a little bit nicer containers, Tupperware, all that, get glass. Again, I don't know the exact reasons, but I just know the glass is better for you than the plastic. Just I think because like chemicals and all that are used to produce plastic. I truly don't know the real reason, but glass is also going to last longer. I don't know. And they just feel nicer. So definitely get glass containers. Again, different sizes, different lids, all that, different shapes. You need them because you're going to cook a lot and you're going to have leftovers and you're going to just prep all of your food and keep it all fresh in the fridge. Okay, now we're going to get into some tools / utensils. I don't know. I keep saying tools. Okay, cheese grater. You don't need it. I survived the last 2.5 years without one, but finally I bought one for like $3 at TJ Maxx. And it's already kind of changed my life a little bit. I literally don't know why I didn't get one. As you know, like every time, like, oh, why don't we have a cheese grater yet? So I did finally get one. It's great. Get one. Fresh cheese is just great. And another just side note, I had this conversation with my mom and Chris today, so I feel like sharing it with you guys. We are buying less processed food. Everyone. I'm speaking to you. So cheese is one of those things. Avoid buying grated cheese when you can, when it makes sense, because going from a block of cheese to grated cheese is just one more process in the food industry. And we want to buy food in its purest form. Obviously, we're not going to make our own cheese out here, but buying a block is just one less step for that block of cheese to go through a factory or wherever it is, where it's getting like run through machines and coming across more chemicals and things to make it shred. And my mom also said that there's like a powder that gets kind of put on the cheese so that it doesn't clump together when it's in the bag. So I'm like, that's just like one less thing you could be putting in your body that you don't really even know what it is or what it's for, and probably doesn't benefit you in any way. Enough about cheese. Very important utensil next, good knives. You need good knives. And I need to upgrade my knife game. And I think I'm going to ask for some new knives for Christmas. Or also, like, I was just at Costco with Chris and he got knives for his apartment. I think they were like not even $30. And it was a whole set. And they so far seem fantastic. They're German steel. That's all I know. But they work really well and they weren't that expensive. I have Cutco knives from literally pre my parents' wedding, but it's because they upgraded their knives and then gave me the Cutco, which I know Cutco's nice and I can probably like send them off and get them sharpened and upgraded for free. But until then, you guys need good knives. And I know there's some people that just have like a really good like chef's knife or like a chopping knife and survive off of that, which that's great. But I like having like a serrated one too for bread and certain fruits and stuff. But you just need good knives and they're worth the investment. And then something else along those lines, good scissors. We're talking kitchen scissors, like ones that can like cut plastic, cut food, cut flower stems, everything. You're going to invest in them. They're probably $4. Champagne break number 2. All right, next set of utensils you guys need. Your basic wooden and rubber spatulas, mixing tools, serving spoons. You can typically find a bundle of a whisk, a spatula, a big spoon, a ladle, a one with like kind of like a strainer. I don't really know what you would call that. But you guys know what I mean here. But you definitely need wooden. Honestly, I'm going to throw metal in there too. I think you need a metal spatula because certain pans obviously are going to be too hot and a rubber might melt and the wooden just might not do the job. So just kind of a mix of those, and don't go crazy. Don't buy a million. Kind of buy those as you need them or as you think makes sense. The last utensil I have for now are measuring cups, which I don't think that really needs an explanation, but just get them and get a kind that has the measurement either engraved or raised if it's plastic into the measuring cup, not the kind where it's just printed on, because that will come off over time and then you're not going to know what it is. Speaking from experience. Okay, now we're going to move into non-essentials but convenient is literally what I called this in my notes. So number 1, lemon juicer. I know you've seen these, or actually, you know, maybe you haven't. And I'm not talking about the kind that's like a half circle with like, literally it looks like a boob, where you like juice the lemon over top by twisting it. I'm talking about the kind where you cut your lemon into a slice and then you lift. I'm like using my hands as if you can see me. It looks like a tong almost. Like it clamps like a tong and you put the lemon slice in it and then you push down and it has like a little circle, semicircle that the lemon goes in, and so it juices into your drink or whatever it's on. It's just really nice and convenient. Again, you don't need it, but I use mine every day when I make my lemon water. I use it a lot when I'm putting lemon or lime on chicken, stuff like that. It just kind of keeps it clean. Doesn't have it all over your hands, getting the seeds in places it doesn't need to be. So definitely recommend. Okay, another one. And I only say this because I use it today for prepping a Thanksgiving dish, but an apple slicer. I personally prefer to cut my apples with a knife just because I really enjoy the act of chopping. It's just soothing to me, but having an apple slicer is definitely convenient. And I have used one quite a few times, so something to consider. Another one is a ground meat mixer, which I don't have any idea what this is actually called or what the device is actually for, but this is what me and my family use it. It's in the shape of an X, and it's literally just a little plastic tool. And so when you have meat in the stove, specifically like ground beef, ground turkey, ground chicken, whatever it is, instead of having just one spatula where you have to kind of like break up the little clumps, this breaks it up easier for you. So a non-essential but convenient. And then I have 2 things that I would actually consider essential but not for everyone, because I truly don't really know what you would do without it, but a wine opener and a bottle opener. You should just have one for sure. And definitely don't buy the cheapest version, because I have had several wine openers break. Okay, another thing is a fruit bowl. That's just going to make you, and buy one you like, yeah, it might be $30, but it's really cute. Buy it. It's going to sit on your counter and you're going to look at it every single day, and it's going to hold all your fruit, your vegetables, potatoes, whatever it is, but definitely get one. And I also have like a 3-tier one in my house next to our fruit bowl, which is nice to kind of keep like onions and bananas separate, just because certain produce beside each other is going to make it ripen faster when you don't want it to ripen faster. So something to keep in mind as well. Okay, another non-essential is a butter dish, but again, definitely suggested. And you can get a cute one too. Okay, last thing is freezer-sized Ziploc bags. Don't worry, I reuse mine until I can't. Like obviously if I put meat in there, I don't reuse it, but I freeze a lot of stuff, and so definitely recommend the freezer size, which is funny. I never really thought of it being called freezer size because it's for stuff in the freezer. Makes a lot of sense. Good job, Ziploc. But yeah, just good to have on hand when and then if you make veggie broth like I do, or chicken broth or whatever it is. It's great for liquids because then when you want to defrost, you just like cut the bag off the block of ice and then defrost the block of ice in your big pot that you have using your utensils, your little stirring devices. Okay. Oh wait, that's a lie. I do have one more thing on here. It is a dish drying rack. And I would consider this an essential for me, but you might hate washing dishes, and so it's definitely not mandatory, but get something that you sit next to your counter so that when you're washing like your good knives, your spatulas, maybe a really awkward big pot or pan or something you just like know you need to use pretty soon and don't have time to wait for the dishwasher, you have your drying rack so that it's not sitting on a towel, because then it never actually dries on the inside because it's like flat on the ground. You know what I mean? So get a dish drying rack. Okay, that's all my non-essentials. Now we're going to move into baking, which I don't really bake much, but I do want to bake more, and so I have kind of invested in a few things over time. I literally only have 2 things on my list right now, but so I just bought a bread dish, or a loaf pan, I guess is the proper word. I got 2 when I made my pumpkin bread back in early October. But just kind of my bullet point here is bread dishes, all shapes, sizes, whatever you like to make. If you like to make muffins, I do want to get a muffin tin eventually. That's just something I feel like everyone has, but did you actually buy it yourself, or did it just appear in your house? Like, where do you guys get them? Because I haven't spent money on it yet. You can also use like Pyrex pans for cakes, which I do have one of those as well. One thing I do really want, if I can ever find it, is Emily has a brownie dish that is kind of curved like a snake, I think. I mean, I've never seen it, but just from the way she's described it, so that every single piece of the brownie is a corner piece, which I love the corner pieces, or like it has like edges. So you guys can get creative. Like I said, all shapes and sizes, especially if you like the corner pieces of brownies. And then another thing for baking is a Pyrex measuring cup, which Pyrex is just the brand that I have and know. But I'm talking about the kind that is glass and it has a handle with the measurement, like multiple different measurements on the side. And I just think for baking, it's a lot easier because you're definitely mixing a lot of liquids like your oil, your water, milk, whatever it is. And it just kind of like feels a lot more, I don't know. To me, it feels fancier. And then also that way you don't have to use like 30 different measuring cups. Like, oh, 3/4 of this, 1 cup of that, a tablespoon of that. Like you can just do it all in the Pyrex and then pour it into your thing. Okay, that's literally all for baking. Like I said, I don't really bake, but I do want to bake more down the line. Next is the extra section, and you'll see what I mean. So first up, I have a cake stand, which this was given to me from Charlie. She said that whenever she has friends or family or people in her life that move into a new home or like their first home or whatever it is, she gifts them a cake stand, which I think is just such a sweet idea. Because I would never buy myself one. I wouldn't even know what one was. It's like one of those things, like a muffin tin. Like, does anyone actually buy that for themselves, or is it always just gifted or just passed down or just kind of ends up in your house? So I do have one now. I've barely used it because like I don't bake much, but I do. It's nice to know I have. Okay. I also have some aesthetic clear jars to store like grains, oats, flour, rice, and they sit on this little shelf in our kitchen. And I also have one in for my granola, and down the line, that is something I want more of. And if I have like a big pantry, have all that in there organized and labeled and stuff, it just like looks nice, because when we want to live in a clean space that we like how it looks, because then you're going to want to use it all. Something else I use a lot of that I just thought of is mason jars. Whenever I finish a pasta sauce or like a jar of olives or pickles or whatever it is, I keep the jar with the lid. One, because it's perfect for soups and stuff like that. And when you freeze stuff, it's perfect. You have it. And then also if you ever give someone food and you put it in a jar that like literally came from Trader Joe's, you don't care about it. Like it's just a jar, but it's still like, it's not like a plastic container that you might want back or a gross one. I also drink water out of them, coffee out of them. They're just aesthetic, feel fancy, and free because you're already buying glass jars for whatever items, and then you just wash it. I also have Goo Gone to get the label off sometimes, and I don't keep every single one, but I do keep a lot. I don't know. Then they break, you throw them away, like whatever. They have a good life cycle. Okay, something else is cheese boards, which I feel like a lot of people would say these probably should have been in the non-essential but convenient category. But I personally don't like host much. I wish I hosted more, but whenever you do have people over or like a little charcuterie situation, it just makes it look a lot nicer. And again, this is something that's a great gift to give to someone or to receive. Again, they just kind of like pile up in your house after a while. Something else, a veggie tray, which goes along with this whole serving thing. My roommate is the queen of bringing a veggie tray to a house party or whatever it is, a dinner party. And so she actually has a veggie tray, which is really convenient. So I'll probably eventually need to get one of those. Okay, another thing is ice molds. I do not have any, but I thought of Emily for this because they don't have an ice maker. So, I mean, if I didn't have an ice maker, I would say this is essential. But also, my friend / someone that will be on this podcast eventually, her name's Sarah Louise. She has an account called The Spritz Effect. Definitely go check her out. I mean, she's like pretty close to being a cocktail influencer. Like, her content is amazing. But she has several different ice molds and different shapes. And so for all of her fun drinks, it's circular ice, whatever it is, just makes the drink so much prettier. And all of her millions of viewers definitely agree. Okay, next on the list, we've got a water filter for my sink, which this isn't really extra because it has to do with our health. And I will put in a disclaimer, I didn't have one until a month ago. And I've lived in my house for over 2 years now. So really gross. I've been drinking nasty tap water. But definitely get a water filter if you don't have access to a fridge with good water, or you can also do a Brita filter. But since I have a roommate, our fridge is already small. So having a Brita filter in there would just take up a lot of key real estate. So I went for the water filter that goes on the sink. Something else that I have done recently and I really actually enjoy is getting a pretty soap dispenser that sits on your kitchen sink. And I didn't do one for hand soap. I did one for like dish soap, like Dawn, because we've had that plastic bottle just sitting there. Whatever dish soap you use, I got a glass one. Again, I get everything from TJ Maxx. It was like $5, but it just has a cute little pump and glass with like a nice little design. And it just looks nicer sitting on the kitchen sink. Okay, now we're moving into things that I want. So first up, and I think I'm actually going to ask for this for Christmas or my birthday or whatever, or Ninja, please sponsor me, is a Ninja Creamy. And I've talked about this a few times before, but I want one of these so bad. And I know I would use it all the time because I make nice cream on the daily, on the reg. But this, if you don't know what it is a ice cream maker, but you can make ice cream out of like very, very minimal ingredients. Like I would just use chocolate protein powder and then some form of milk. And then I know also putting like sugar-free Jell-O packets makes it a certain creaminess that you want to reach. Like I've been watching Sydney Adams make a lot of these and I'm really interested and I really want one. I also really like Ninja products, so I feel like I would love this. Something else I want is a water heater. I don't know if that's the proper word. A kettle. Oh my God. I want an electric kettle. Or maybe honestly just a cute kettle that sits on the stove. But again, my kitchen's small. I don't want to clutter what stays out on the counter. So I want an electric water heater, but I just haven't gotten one yet because not at all necessary. I just use literally a pot and boil water. It takes 3 minutes because I make tea every night. But my parents do have one and I will say it's definitely convenient. It's faster. And also when you're making pasta or rice or whatever it is, they heat the water in the kettle before they pour it in the pot instead of just pouring room temperature water into a pot and then waiting for that to boil. It just expedites everything. So definitely something down the line that will be non-essential but convenient that I also want. Another thing that I want is a new blender. The blender I've been using and that has like made me who I am, shaped me every single morning is so old. Like I don't remember not having that thing in my life and I've been using it. My roommate also makes smoothies every morning, so that thing has gotten some use. So I eventually do want a new blender. I don't really know what kind. If you guys have a blender that you really like, definitely let me know. I do think I want one that's also a food processor. So meaning it just comes with the big tall blender thing that you pour, like your standard blender container, and then also a smaller one. Because food processors just kind of like blend at a different speed, I think, or maybe it's the way the blade's positioned. I don't know, but it does make things creamier. So it's definitely good for like smoothie bowls and stuff. So I don't know, keeping my options open, but I definitely do think Ninja would be what I'm thinking there. And then I have my further down the line things that I want. I obviously want an espresso machine. I do think I want like the Breville one where you like actually do the beans and like press it yourself. But again, I'm not that great at it. And so I know it takes, practice makes perfect. So I would learn, and my roommate had one in college, so I definitely got some practice. And it's not that hard, but I don't know. My parents have the Nespresso pods. You just pop those puppies in and it's perfect every time. So, but they're wasteful. So I don't know. I don't know. But eventually I do want an espresso machine. And then I want seasoning containers that match, which again, not at all necessary, but it's just going to be one of those things that every time I open my spice cabinet, which is a lot, I know it'll just make me happy to see all that. And I'm not that OCD. Like, I'm really not, I promise, but I just think it'd be really nice. And I mentioned this earlier, but I do want a stainless steel pan just because I've seen a lot of videos of people that cook with them, and I've just heard really good things about it. And also I've heard that a cast iron skillet, which is what I use for everything, obviously has iron in it, and that's not necessarily something you want to be consuming excess amounts of. I don't know the backstory there. Again, need to do some research, but I think it'd be worth considering trying a stainless steel pan. I want a wok because I make a lot of Asian food, and my parents actually did have one at one point. Maybe they still do, but to do stir fry and stuff, like, I don't know, you can get in there with with all the veggies, everything, and like you can cook shrimp in the middle while the veggies are on the side, continuing to cook. I don't know. It just definitely serves the purpose of stir fry, but I do eat a lot of Asian food, so could be worth the investment for me. I also want an electronic mixer, like the KitchenAid ones that bougie moms have on their counter at all times. Again, I don't bake much, literally ever. I've definitely never make dough. I also want to start making like sourdough bread, and I don't know if you use an electronic mixer for that, but if you do, that'd be a perfect reason to have one. So, down the line, definitely not needing that anytime soon, but when the day comes, I'll be excited to have one. And then I also don't need this, but my parents used to have one and my brother has one, and I see the purpose, but a rice cooker. I do eat a lot of rice, but not enough to need one. And again, it's just like another large appliance that you have to have room for, so not at all necessary. But this is just if I have like a ton of money and I'm like, oh, let me just get everything that I kind of want. Like, I would get a rice cooker because it makes the rice perfect every time. And then the last thing on this list of things that I want is a pretty olive oil dispenser from a ceramic place in probably a different country. On my trip this summer, I came home with a ton of ceramics, like coffee mugs, espresso mugs. I got a salt and pepper shaker. I got this is something that's not essential but convenient, is a dish holder or a utensil holder that you keep next to your stove so that when you're like stirring whatever you're cooking, you can set the spatula down on the dish holder instead of on your counter, which like you still need to rinse off the dish holder, but I don't know. They're just cute and like actually convenient, especially if you like a red sauce or something sticky or whatever, you set it on that instead of on your counter. Keep it clean. But so my point is, all this had like beautiful designs in these stores that had like bowls, vases, everything, and I wanted literally everything. So I do want an olive oil dispenser at some point. I just like didn't have enough time or money or space in my suitcase to bring everything back. And last but not least, I have a cleaning section just because, we're in the kitchen, we got to clean the kitchen. So first, I mentioned my drying rack again for dishes, definitely mandatory. And then again, my dish soap dispenser. And then I use Scrub Daddy. Those are my favorite cleaning devices, tools. It has the hard side and the soft side, and I think they just work really well. And they don't get super, super gross. Like, sponges can get really gross really quick. These ones, I mean, eventually you definitely need to throw it away, but I throw mine in the dishwasher every once in a while, and it lasts. It's definitely worth it. And then also get a cute paper towel holder. I mean, everyone needs paper towels, so you might as well display them nicely. And then a good counter spray. I honestly just use the Trader Joe's one, but I definitely need to get another one we're out of Clorox wipes, so I need one that's more of like a disinfectant. And then you need some form of like bleach spray. But yeah, I did add a little section on my notes of what's in my cabinet, but just basics, because I do want to do an episode down the line of kind of just like what's in my kitchen or like what's in my Trader Joe's haul, stuff like that. So in my cabinet, we've got, and these are just staples, like staples for cooking, not like specific meals or anything. These are just things that I think you should have. So one, olive oil, and definitely get a nice olive oil. I take that back. It doesn't need to be nice. You can go to Trader Joe's, you can go to Whole Foods, wherever you grocery shop, and just buy olive oil. But I actually did just get Graza olive oil, and I am loving it so far. It comes with 2 bottles that are a twisty lid, so you can just like kind of squirt it from the bottle instead of tipping over a glass bottle where a bucket of olive oil comes out. You can kind of control your portion better. And so one is Graza for cooking, and it's sizzle and drizzle. That's what it is. And so the sizzle is what you use for cooking, and the drizzle is more for salad dressings and stuff like that, for you to do like a cake, I guess. But definitely olive oil. I also have coconut oil, mainly because when I make my dates, I melt chocolate chips and you put coconut oil in there to melt them when you microwave it. I don't know why, but coconut oil is just what I've seen people do. I assume you could probably use other oil. Maybe it has to do with like the melting temperature or something. I truly have no idea. But coconut oil. And I'm getting back into butter. So grass-fed butter is what I've heard is the best. And I've also heard it's even better than olive oil for different purposes. Butter can be better, like specifically acne and stuff like that, which is kind of funny because in my mind, butter is a not great thing for you. But again, then I guess neither is oil. So I don't know. Definitely need to do some more research there. And then another oil is sesame oil, which again, I make a lot of Asian dishes. So I love sesame oil. Just has great flavor and takes your Asian dishes a step up from if you were to use just whatever typical oil you have. And I also have balsamic vinegar and red wine vinegar. Not essentials, but I use balsamic vinegar a lot when I cook vegetables, specifically Brussels sprouts. And then red wine vinegar to make salad dressing. And then my seasonings, the staples, we've got salt. I might just have to go. I think my family's here. You guys don't really care what seasonings I have. I can list them out really quick in case Callie barks again. Salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, red pepper flakes, paprika, Italian seasonings, and then dried herbs, basil, rosemary, thyme, oregano. And then Trader Joe's shout out, everything but the bagel seasoning, and then chili lime seasoning, and then dill seasoning. Boom. Which I'll tell you more about the seasonings and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know if this is a short episode. I wanted it to be kind of quick. But again, I just felt this episode fit in with the time of year it is. If you guys are looking for certain things to either gift, especially with like all the holiday parties and dinner parties that are happening, if you want to bring like a housewarming present, or you can get them like a nice charcuterie board, or, oh my God, I didn't even talk about like dishes. You guys need wine glasses. You guys need a salad bowl, which is like a shorter and wider bowl. They're great for any type of bowl, like a grain bowl, a salad, stuff like that. And also just like pasta. I use them all the time. But yeah, that is all I have for now. I think my family is here and it is time to have Thanksgiving. So that is exciting. I hope everyone has a great holiday and Thanksgiving. And I hope you guys enjoy this episode. And please leave a rating and a review. That would be my Thanksgiving wish from you all. But yeah, let me know what you guys think and we will talk soon. Do you hear me?
Hey.
So hi, Catherine. I have a few questions to ask you. Can I ask you about your day? How was your Thanksgiving meal?
Go.
Was it good?
Yeah.
What did you eat?
Eat pasta,
Pasta? What about Pringles?
pieces, and eat
What about peas?
peas.